You want to use that one and the phone, or?
You want to use this one?
Sure.
That way you can turn it and see it.
Okay.
Ready?
When you're ready.
Whenever you're ready. Whoever's going first.
Okay, if I stand up, you care?
Yeah, please.
Okay, thank you.
Make yourself at home.
Well, hey, so my name's Randy Dye. This is the 3-minute time, I guess. So, okay. I've lived in Volusia County since 1982. Came here as a young person, 22 years old. Came and visited when I was not quite 16. People asked me, so I came from Pennsylvania. I left Pennsylvania on a February day. Got here, it was 0 degrees. Got to Daytona Beach. Went out on the beach. It was 70, and I'm going, man, I'm not living in Pennsylvania anymore. So it took me 6 years to get here, but I moved here in 1982. I think what's most important, I came here really with virtually nothing, and so I get asked this question all the time: why are you running? And ultimately, you know, my life has been enhanced a great deal by the opportunities that were presented in Volusia County. Prior to getting to Volusia County, I was very, very fortunate. Even though my mom was a single mom and she raised 3 boys, I was fortunate to have some really good people in my life who took time to show me the right way, show me the right path, help me not make all the decisions for me, but help me learn how to make good decisions. And so coming to Volusia County, I brought that with me. And when I got here, there were more good people like that who took time. Wow.
Can you step forward?
Okay. Who took time. That made it better. Who took time.
Come on down the stairs.
I'm going to stand on the table here in a minute. Who took time to speak into my life and to talk about servant leadership and talk about the importance of giving back and teach me how to give back. And so for me, I've spent most of my private life doing that, giving back, coaching, teaching, sharing lessons that I learned from other people with younger people, and trying to make a difference. This is the first effort into public life. Your screen went black. It's my first entrance into the public life, the elected life. And I'm not doing it for that. What I'm going to bring to the table is a different approach. It's a business approach. This is a big, big, big business. And I think that my experience along this very long time has prepared me for the things and the challenges that our county faces today. So that's why I've decided to run for Volusia County Chair, and I appreciate the invitation and the opportunity to speak with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good time. Thank you.
I'm going to try and avoid the squeal, so maybe I'm right at the right spot, and I'm going to time myself, because those of you that know me know one of my strengths is not brevity. But I want to start off by saying thank you for coming here. These kind of forums are my favorite thing to do. When I first ran for Volusia County Chair, I am your Volusia County Chair. This is my 3rd year and 1 month. You will determine in August or November, let's do it in August, whether or not this is my my last year or the beginning of my 5th year. So, but when I ran, I decided one of the things that I offered people was that I will do town halls all over the county every month. I've almost kept my word on that. I actually do them about 3 times a month. because I love them. I go without a speech and just listen to the people and ask questions because I believe that's what a public servant is supposed to do. That's why I ran to begin with. I felt like my voice wasn't heard, and I needed a voice in government. You need a voice in government. And I know that at times you get really frustrated. I ran on a platform of responsible growth, improving our water quality, lowering taxes, and just improving your quality of life. If anybody here doesn't think we still have more work to do, then I bet you wouldn't be here. We're a growing county, 1,000 people a day moving into Florida. A lot of them come here. I want to say that, like Randy, I wasn't born here, but I beat him here. I got here when I was 3 years old, also from Pennsylvania. I got here as quick as I could. They wouldn't let me go by myself. And my dad got here, can't swim, but went to the beach and thought driving on the beach was the coolest thing in the world. And I would like to preserve that because we're losing it day by day. And we need to keep it. I want to ask you something tonight. You are doing the most important thing in a republic. You're not just voting by a voter's guide. You're doing the research. You're here. You're going out beyond sitting in front of the electronic income reducer and listening to the TV every night. You're doing your homework. Listen carefully tonight, because if you remember in the last round of elections, almost everybody ran on the same platform I ran on the first time. Responsible growth, water quality. Words are cheap. And anybody can say anything. So you have to look at somebody's record. Where is the flooding? What do the cities look like? If we don't have a public service record, then I suggest that you look at where's my money coming from? Where is everybody's money coming from? Because money is the lifeblood of politics. And if you think it doesn't matter in politics, I think you already know better. So it's time that we keep our word to you and that you let us know what you need, what you want. My name is Jeff Brower. I am your Volusia County Chair. I hope to keep that job. Thank you for being here tonight. Does that work?
That worked.
Good afternoon, everybody. I didn't do that right. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
I did it a little better that time, I think. My name's John Burnett. I am the current mayor of the city of Port Orange. I'm in my 8th year and 14th year on our city council over there. I have a history in Volusia County that dates back even further than both these gentlemen. I was actually born here. And usually, see, my wife came down here when she was 5 years old, and I told her, no, that doesn't count. But, close, no cigars. So how many people here in this room were born in Volusia County?
Raise your hand, baby
see,
girl.
you guys are the other ones. And that's okay. If you're born here, great. But everybody else is here by choice. That means you do recognize that this is a great place to live. And my wife and I made a decision a long time ago that we wanted to stay here. We both got our college degrees from UCF, and I got my master's in business administration there. We could have moved on, but we decided to raise our family in Port Orange. Both my boys are recent college grads. One straight off and went to the University of Florida. He's a Gator. I've forgiven him. It's okay. The other is a Knight. He just graduated UCF last August. So the brothers will always have that rivalry between them, but they're close. They know the meaning of family. That's the way I was raised. I still look at my father to this day as a role model for me. I'm very lucky that I can say that. I want to try to be that for my boys. And I look at our community as an extension of family. Port Orange has been ranked among the safest cities in the state of Florida, consistently in the top 20 my entire term. And it starts with that. You can't have a good community until you have a safe community. And we've got a number of cities. DeBerry has also had that ranking. It doesn't just happen because you have good public safety. That's where it starts. We've got great public safety. But it takes an engaged citizenry. Without that engaged citizenry, you can't have that. We have that here in Volusia County. Now, how do we bring that together? The one thing that all three of us have in common is a passion for this county and for the people in it. We may all three have some similarities in our approach, and we may all three have some differences. I do have a track record. I'm going to sit here and say I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes. Who hasn't? I also think that I've learned a lot from those experiences and those mistakes. I'm a 2-term president of the Volusia League of Cities. I'm on the board of directors for the Florida League of Cities. I've got a lot of experience bringing people together, and that's what I want to do, is bring people together to move Volusia forward. And I'm sure in our questioning we'll hear more about that from all three of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank all three of you. You guys are ready? We'll just jump in, all right? Oh, what was it? I don't know. 2 minutes. Is that what we said?
2 minutes?
2 minutes. 2 minutes to answer, all right? All right. First question. Oh, boy, this is a real difficult one here. Why are you running for Volusia County Chair?
Everybody answered.
Yeah.
I think I just said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I really kind of just said that, but it'll give me an opportunity to explain a little bit more. Maybe it's more about the preparation to run for Volusia County Chair. So, my experience in the county, in the private sector includes, 20 odd years as an elder in my church and head of the finance committee, being on the Daytona State College Board of Trustees, appointed by the governor, being a past president of the Volusia Flagler Boys and Girls Club, which does a great work in our communities. Also, the past president of the Daytona Beach Area Chamber of Commerce. What's all that really mean? I mean, there's a lot more. But I think what matters, and Don's right. I'm the least experienced guy on the table here, right? I don't have any public service experience, not at all. But I have a lot of private experience that prepares me for this job. You can't have a $1.2 billion budget. I look around and go, $1.2 billion, that's a crazy sum of money. It's crazy. And how in the world can we still be behind the 8 ball when it comes to basic services? And, in business, if I ask you to pay something, my responsibility is to make sure you get at least what you're paying for. And I'm afraid, and I feel like, we're not getting what we're paying for. And we've got to do a better job of that. We have a responsibility to be transparent, find the holes. I've heard things like, let's cut the taxes by 10%. And you can't do that because there are certain agencies that need more and certain that need less. So there's a little bit more. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. I'm going to answer that question, why am I running for re-election? I can tell you real quick why I ran the first time. I ran for what I already said. I looked around the county. I'm a farmer. That's my background. We also have my family has a landscape company. We build outdoor rooms and tree houses and some really cool stuff. If anybody knows how to run tentacles together and make a dime, it's a farmer, because you just can't go out and buy everything that you need. You've got to produce and make it happen. I ran because we have a quality of life problem. We have a water quality problem, and we have a problem with the way that we're developing. And if we don't change our development pattern, your quality of life is going to continue to diminish. I mean, seriously, we have serious water problems. That's why I decided to run again for re-election, because you know where I hear the answers? I hear it when I go out in public and meet from you. What I'm hearing now is, well, we can't talk about the problems, we just need to talk about the solutions. We can't talk about the solutions until we identify the problems and agree that those are the challenges we need to face. I think I'm going to get the opportunity tonight to tell you some challenges that you might not be aware of on our water quality because of our current development pattern. We can do better. We have to do better. There are solutions, and you'll hear them tonight.
why I want to run, I guess that's kind of a loaded question for all of us because there's a lot of arms and legs to that. But at the end of the day, it's because I want to make a difference. Seriously, I want to make a difference. I've been involved on the Salvation Army Advisory Board for the last 20 years. My kids have been out of high school since 2019. I still volunteer at school. I've been involved in my community in a lot of different ways beyond my service to my council and to my city and to my county. That is kind of the way my dad brought me up, is that you have to pay it forward, you have to give back. And there are a lot of ways to do that. We'll all talk about issues that are important to us. I grew up here. That beach is very important to me, and the fact that we don't have a plan that's working down there is bothersome to me. The fact that we've got a lot of good working and moving parts in this county is terrific. It's a great place to start. How do we bring them together and get them working together? That's something that I think I'm pretty good at. I have a dynamic on my council. We've got 5 type A personalities. I come together. It's not just about my ideas and my things. You have to be able to get those across and blend those together and move forward as a team to make a difference. I hope that I can do that. The things that Chairman Brower is talking about, water quality, is something that's not a problem in Port Orange. Matter of fact, the state renewed our consumptive use permit. They do that on 10-year increments for your plan. They just renewed us for 20. We're in good shape there. I'd like to see that. I very much would like to see that for the rest of our county. So those are the things and the problems. You don't, and the chairman's right, you don't stop by identifying you got to start by identifying the problem. If you don't identify the problem, then you can't work the problem. And that's what we want to do, is we want to identify our problems, but then we got to come together to work them. You can't just be one voice. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Let me read this right here. If elected, what is the top priority to accomplish on your agenda as a VCC chair? What's your plan to accomplish that priority, and how much time will you allow for the completion of that item?
Let me ask a question. You want us to keep rotating so the same person doesn't go first every time?
Correct.
The top issue that we face in the county, the top issue that you face, is water quality and water quantity. Now, I don't know if everybody in here realizes that. In Volusia County, we have 4 outstanding waterways, rivers, and Spruce Creek. We have the Tomoka River, the St. Johns River, and the Indian River Lagoon, which is, as the Halifax River, perhaps. We also have 5 springs. All 4 of those waterways are on the outstanding waterways list. All 4 of those waterways are also on the impaired waterways list. They're dying because of the amount of nitrogen, phosphorus, bacteria, E. coli, coliform. In the Indian River Lagoon, we've lost the grass, we've lost manatees, we're losing fish. We can't continue that. Our springs, we have 3 of 5 springs that you can't swim in because the bacteria level is so high. Think about that for a minute. Our springs are an indication of what the aquifer is that you are drinking from. If our springs are pumping out nitrogen and phosphorus and bacteria, that's what you're consuming. And all kinds of stuff we're not testing. Water needs to be the most important thing, and the way that we develop is challenging our water. It's killing our aquifer and lagoon, and if we don't deal with it now, it's going to be too expensive to deal with it later. We have to change our development pattern in order to have clean water to drink. Do you have the timer over there?
I do.
Okay.
You got 20 seconds.
Okay. So what I'm going to suggest to you tonight is that when we look at the way that we develop, one of the things that's happening in our development pattern is that we're displacing water in enormous amounts, and all of that water, that storm water, ends up in the lagoon or one of these bodies of water. I'll continue to talk about that.
I think the chairman identified part of a larger problem. The larger problem is how we develop our infrastructure to stay ahead. We're constantly playing catch-up. I think LPGA Boulevard in Daytona Beach is a perfect example of what happens, and now they're playing catch-up there. Transportation and infrastructure are part of that. And I know we're going to grow, even if people don't move down here. I know I had 2 kids. We're going to grow because of organic population growth. We will grow. So how do we do that smartly? And how do we do that moving forward? So we've identified the problems. Now we need to start talking about solutions. How do we solve those water problems? How do we do those things? So those are some of the things that we've addressed in Port Orange, and they're works in progress. Some of this is because we have development that's occurred well before modern development standards. And now how do we got to backtrack? Homes that were built in the 50s, 60s, and 70s to lower grades with no infrastructure for ponds and drainage, those are problems. Now we have to go back and reinvent the wheel. We also need to figure out how to get homes that are capable of not being on septic off septic. I know that that's controversial to some. Part of the problem with septic is not everybody's responsible with it. If everybody was responsible with septic, it wouldn't be a problem, but that's not the case. So I've been a big proponent, particularly in the town of Ponce Inlet, of helping getting those people off septic, because they are right there on the inlet, on the waterway there. How do we get do more of that so we don't feed the nitrous and phosphorus into the water? We need to do more of those things. We know how to do it. So the first year I'm in office, the first thing we need to do is take the county into 16 cities and put them in one room, because right now we have 17 different plans. Some of them are better and some of them are worse, but we do not have a unified plan for this county. That's a problem.
All right, thank you, Don. Keep the microphone. Right?
Yeah, do I get to reply since he mentioned my name?
Oh, if you, yeah.
I was going to say, you need to respond.
And then
Yeah, okay, yeah, 2 minutes. See, what did we say?
I thought you said
I
1
don't know
minute.
the rules, I can't remember them, all right?
I think we have 1 minute.
1 minute rebuttal.
But Don just mentioned me, not in a bad way, but that Jeff has identified a problem. I also want to let you know that I've identified a solution and stood up for it and actually had a big win last week. As some of you know, that I called a press conference at the location of the Pioneer Trail interchange that would have gone over 95, so that we could expand, it says in the order, so that we could expand economic development by building new houses in the wetlands and the watershed of the Spruce Creek, which is on the impaired waterway list. So if we take out all of that land that's cleaning the water before it goes into the Spruce Creek, which dumps into the Indian River Lagoon, we just pollute it more rapidly. So I called attention to it, and I said the way that we got there was illegal. I sent it to the governor. They came back, and FDOT says, no, we don't agree that was illegal because our attorney says it's not. So a group of people got together and appealed that, and we actually got an administrative hearing with an independent judge, the same judge that just heard Belvedere, and he came back and said it was illegal, you don't get the permit.
Thank you. Thank you. Randy?
Forgot the question, I'm kidding. So, I think our top priority has been, since we started, to communicate effective leadership. So what's your number one priority? Well, I don't know, after all the time that we've been out in the community for the last, 8 months, talking to people, that there's any way to pick one thing and focus on one thing only, and do that and spend all your effort and all your time on one issue. That's impossible. That's just absolutely impossible. There's 600,000 people here. They all have different issues. And so what my real first thing would be to set a priority list based on what the citizens have said when we've been out in the campaign, and work on all of those things. In business, I don't have the luxury of picking one thing and going down that road and only that road. A business with 150 people is a microcosm of a bigger community. I have to be able to do multiple things at one time, and I think ultimately prioritizing a list using a lot of people. I've met a lot of wise people. My intent will be to utilize some of those folks in the process of solving some of the problems. But you got to prioritize more than one thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think Don goes first on this one, right? right? Where do you stand on development and what, excuse me, where do you stand on development and what's happening in our county? Please do not use the worn out phrase, smart growth.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I think I kind of touched on that with the last question. And the problem with smart growth is if you ask 10 people, you're going to get 10 different answers. And it's not just about what we're doing with growth. It's what we're doing with what already exists because it's been ignored for too long. And the only time we learn about how it's been ignored is when something bad happens. And we've seen a lot of that, particularly with Ian. We never had a storm like Ian before, not even close. Charlie, Francis, and Gene in 2004 were the closest I can remember that. You put Charlie and Francis together, shorten the length of time to 24 hours and multiply it by 1.5, and then you have what we had with Ian. And Nicole, we saw what it did to our beachside. A lot of the areas that were hard hit were areas that were developed pre-1980s when our development standards after Andrew in the late and early 90s improved in this state. So we need to spend more time going back and helping those areas. It's not easy because it's one thing when you're starting with an empty swath of land to build it high, build it smart, build ponds. When you've already got something that exists and it's not built to the physics and demands of today, we're going to have problems. It's not easy, but ignoring the problem is not a solution. It absolutely is not. Those are the kinds of things that we need to get together and get people in rooms and prioritize. There's a lot of dollars up there in Tallahassee. There's a lot of dollars here in Volusia. We need to prioritize those projects and get to work on them.
Or it doesn't matter.
It's cool. It's fine.
We don't have smart growth. You're right. What we have is dangerous growth, and we have to tackle that. I keep going back to water because I'm not a one-issue man, but if we deal with water and the problems that are causing it, we deal with everything in our county that we need to deal with overdevelopment and the water quality, the water quantity. The state geologist of Florida says we don't have enough water because we're pumping it out of the ground faster than it can infiltrate back in. Now, that's a serious problem. We're getting a lot of rain, and if that's still the issue, it's a real problem. When you look at water quality and then you look at the rate of development that we have, we're not keeping up with infrastructure. Ultimately, it all comes back to taxes. We don't have enough taxes. It was just mentioned that, I'll admit, I was the one that asked on the county council that I said, I want to reduce our budget by 10%. We need to reduce your taxes instead of raising them every single year. And I had nobody on the council that wanted to speak with. The county manager said, well, instead of a percentage, let's just go to rollback. Let's just go to full rollback, which means your taxes don't go up. But it all stems from the same sour root that we're developing in a way that's destroying our quality of life. And we have to deal with it. It's costing you excess tax dollars that you should be able to keep in your own bank account. There's ways to do it. There's solutions to do it. I'm bringing them to the county council for low-impact development that's sometimes laughed at by some of my fellow council members. It's not a joke. One of the biggest developments in Florida, Babcock Ranch, has built thousands of homes in low-impact development. They're improving the quality of their environment, and they're producing a higher quality than regular development does.
Thank you.
You know, I came here and recognized how beautiful Volusia County was, and so I feel it similarly. You know, I think what I feel, I won't speak for you, but what I feel is chaotic development, and there seems to be no rhyme nor reason. And one of the things that I know, we're not very well disciplined when it comes to zoning requests, zoning variance requests. And it seems to me so many times when we grant a zoning variance request, we create a new problem. And I just, that's very difficult for me. I am, as a matter of fact, I moved out I live in the unincorporated part of the county. I do that because I like the space that I've got. And I have a septic tank. So I understand, and I have a well. So I understand these things. Okay, I get it. I want to make sure that I think that developers should be held accountable for more than just building to a code. Okay, that's not good enough anymore. Okay, that's not good enough. If you're going to impact somebody else's quality of life in a negative way, you're going to cause it to take somebody to spend 15 more minutes getting to work. If you're going to cause water to run into their, you're good. You built to a code, but you caused a problem over there. Well, there's a way to fix that. Okay, if you require a developer or a builder to post a bond that says, hey, you know what? If you goof up and you create a new problem, you're going to pay to fix it. Not the county, not the taxpayer. It's just that simple. I mean, you've got what would happen? Would some of the developers go away? Sure, absolutely. And some of them would get better and do it right.
And you've gone all three, if you want to start with Randy again.
Okay, Randy, it's like we start with you again, all right? You just keep the microphone. What is your position on incentives? They told one a $40 million tax incentive. They gave us a 1 cent convenience tax. So I guess the question is, what is your position on incentives?
Yeah, so great question, really. That's a good one. Because I think any incentive that you offer to...
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm sorry. That's interesting.
Yep.
Okay. Any incentive that you offer to a potential commercial project, something that's going to employ people at a better job than a better rate than the standard $13 an hour or something like that. We've got to figure out what the ROI is, and it has to be that. If I invest, and right now, as crazy as it sounds, and I don't want to start a whole other conversation, but we have to invest in our dealership and dealerships all around the country in electric car infrastructure. And my biggest argument with this is, what's the ROI? I don't mind spending money as long as it gives a return. Okay, and if we give incentives and the return isn't, and we're not guaranteed a return, you don't give the incentive.
Yes.
I think what you're talking about is corporate welfare. Is that what you mean by incentive?
I didn't write the question.
I'm not for that. Probably most people in here aren't for welfare. We used to talk about that all the time, but suddenly it's okay to give millions of your taxpayer dollars to billion-dollar companies in order to attract them here and set them up, or to keep them here. Usually, for me, it's a basic matter of fairness. I don't have the right to take your tax money and hand it to a wealthy company in order to entice them to come here. We used to call that bribery, and I'm not willing to do that. It's also a matter of fairness for all of the other businesses in Volusia County, because often what happens is we're incentivizing corporate welfare, their competition. We're giving their tax dollars that we extract from different companies and giving it to somebody to come here and compete against them. What I would rather do is, there's a program called economic gardening. Economic gardening says you take the tax money that you have and you build up the businesses and companies that are already here. How do you do that? Infrastructure. You improve roads. You have clean water. There's that word again. You have a lifestyle and a quality of life that's attractive to companies that want to come and live here and that their employees want to work here. We have a beautiful county. We have 5 universities. We have everything to offer. Why do we act like we're the ugly stepchild that we got to pay somebody incentive money, corporate welfare, to come here. Let's be prouder of Volusia County than that. We can do it. We can do it better. We have a lot to offer. I'm against it.
I think part of the problem is that some of those rules and some of those districts already exist. So we have to operate within the law where it already exists. But moving forward, the big question about why are we giving it away when we time and time again don't get back what we should have? In Port Orange, we have a very vibrant business community, a lot of organic, homegrown businesses, a lot of small businesses, and some big ones that are all there without incentives. And in Port Orange, we have one of the lowest millage rates in all of Volusia County. We're in the lower quartile. I don't have any beachfront property prop that up to make that happen. We have a business community that's vibrant, and because of that, we're able to manage that. It did not happen because we gave it away. It happened because we created an environment where it makes sense. There are a lot of people that might come in and ask for exceptions for this or that. That's fine, but what are you giving me for it? We've gotten fair share dollars that help with improved traffic improvements and things like that, and infrastructure improvements, because people want. You don't just come in and give them what they want and on a hope and a promise. What are you giving me? What do you want? Well, okay, fine. Well, what am I getting for my citizens? And it's been a firm no vote for me when those things don't happen, and it will continue to be at the county level. We've got to operate within the rules and the law that exists. But I think we're all in agreement. Why are we giving away what we don't have to give away? We've got great businesses here that have grown organically throughout the years. A lot of the largest businesses in Volusia County started here. We can't forsake them for the others.
Thank you. Okay, Jeff, I think you're up first on this one. We had like this question came like 4 different ways. So, what steps will you take to ensure local government contains control of their own zoning requirements instead of being dictated by the state's Live Local Act, Senate Bill 102?
The Live Local Act is one of the most dangerous bills that we face right now. It's one of the things that's happening in Tallahassee right now in this session is that we are losing local control. We are being preempted from making decisions that affect your lives directly. The state legislature is just taking it away and taking it over. This city of DeBerry and your city manager and your mayor have done the best job of anybody in Volusia County for pointing out the dangers of the Live Local Act, which forces communities to build housing that they don't want with no tax incentive coming in or no taxes coming. You can't build infrastructure and maintain your city. You can't provide fire services and EMS services and everything else that goes with having a safe city if your biggest developments don't have tax money coming in. But the Florida legislature says that we have to do that. Carmen, the city manager of this fine city, has rallied the troops and gone with partnered with the League of Cities, who has joined him and said, this is wrong. The League of Cities just had a seminar on this by Carmen at their last meeting. So I've already met with Carmen and the mayor and some of the city commissioners. We have 2 of them here. I think it's because they're on the ball and they know what's happening. And so I will work with them and their city because fortunately they're taking the lead. I would like to see the county take the lead now and come alongside of them and work on this problem, or it's going to be a huge tax mess all over Florida. But that's it.
And the microphone dance up here. So the question was in regards to what are we going to do about the state preemptions that keep us from doing what we're supposed to do locally?
What steps will you take to ensure local government retains control?
Okay, well, that's a tough one because we're talking about the Live Local Act. That's just the latest from Tallahassee. That's just the latest and the biggest one we're talking about right now. You know, the concept of home rule, that government closest to the people is best served to those people. I think you can walk into my city hall and talk to me about what's important to you. For Tallahassee's way up there. And they use the excuse, well, we've got these bad actors in this city over here, so we're trying to create rules to keep that from happening all over the state. Or we got this city over here that doesn't like these businesses, so we're trying to create rules. You know what? If that city over there and that city over there doesn't want to hold their public officials accountable for what they do, why are we paying for it? I'm tired of that. You hold me accountable in my city, you will hold us accountable in the county, and that's the way it should be. I have been heavily involved in fighting the Live Local Act and revising it already, not just as my role as the Volusia League of Cities. I'm on the board of directors for the Florida League of Cities. I'm on a legislative action committee there, and I have brought what Carmen brought to me to light among those. So now we have 411 cities across the state of Florida battling it. I've been to Tallahassee twice this session already. So, yeah, this is what we need to do, is add our voices to it. And it can't just be us as individuals and say, it has to be everybody. My dad told me this a long time ago when I was small, and I never understood until now. But nobody does anything big alone. And this is big. It's going to take everybody to fight this.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I think the one thing I would say in answer to most of these questions, by the way, you know, if you elect any one of us, you're electing an individual who's a member of a seven-person team with one vote. So you're not electing the king of the county. You're electing one member of a team. And I think I agree with the other two that I'm not in favor of Tallahassee's hand in setting the agenda for our communities and then setting the rules. But specifically to answer the question, you know, this is where the state elections become exceedingly important, right? I think if you think about all the things that are going on and all the things that our elected officials who represent us in Tallahassee have on their agenda, this is our number one agenda. You know, I like going to different communities in our state. They have different things going on. They have different priorities. They've decided what's unique to their community. And that's one of the great things about Florida. Everything's not the same. And you can't legislate those kinds of things and expect everybody to operate under the same deal. So when you go to elect your representatives from your districts and your state senators and so on, I think that's the number one question. Will you help repeal the Live Local Act?
Okay, can I get on to the microphone? Oh, kind of simple one. If elected, pardon?
Is there confusion?
Well, we don't know who's next.
You are.
Don,
You are.
I am?
You are, yeah.
Okay.
I thought Don.
Don?
I think it's me. If you finish last, that means you were first, so that means I
Correct,
was
that
second.
started first.
So that makes me first.
Okay, sorry.
So if you can,
Don's up first.
if you can juggle those and figure it out, then I think we're okay. But bring it on. Doesn't matter. All three of us are going to give you an answer.
You're going to get the answer, right?
That's
All right. All right. If elected, will you pledge not to support a sales tax increase? Yes or no?
A sales tax increase that nobody wanted and we've already voted against? No way.
Okay.
Absolutely not. No, it's already been decided. And this hasn't been decided by elected officials. This was decided at the ballot box by the people. People have already spoken. Done deal. Do we have needs? Yeah. But you've already said this is not how we're going to do it. We're going to figure it out other ways. No, I'm not.
So I would simply say the people spoke, and the answer was no. Right? Now, I would also, if I can expand on that, so I answer the question, no. I wouldn't support a sales tax increase. I would tell you that to me, what that represents is a total lack of faith and trust in how the government operates and what the elected officials are going to do with the money. And so that's really one of the goals I have about restoring faith in government. If you look at Marion County as an example, Marion County, just to our north, they put a sales tax increase before their citizens. They put a plan in place. It was 5 years. They passed it. They did what they said. They brought it to the people again. They brought it back, and they have another project, and it's going specifically for what they said. So in other words, that government has lived up to what it's supposed to do. It said, this is what we're going to do with it. If you'll trust us, we'll do it. And they trusted them again. Our folks voted against this because they didn't trust government. That is our big problem, that we have not operated in the best interest of our citizens.
Let me tell you a little story. I told you why I decided to run for county chair the first time is because I didn't think we were being well represented in the government. And then the 1/2 sales tax increase came up, and I said, I can't stand this, because I knew what was going to happen with it. The whole purpose of the sales tax was supposed to be to raise money to build infrastructure to repair the roads that you struggle with every day. I looked at it, I said, that's never going to happen. It's going to go to the biggest developers building the biggest developments on the outskirts of town where we shouldn't be building roads that you won't use. It's going to go to them. It's not going to go to the roads we struggle with every day. So I got with a man named Paul Zimmerman, and Paul and I led the fight to stop the sales tax increase. We raised $1,000 to stop the sales tax increase. Brown & Brown, who's contributed heavily in this campaign, raised $300,000 to pass the sales tax. And so the night of the vote, we all went, there was about 12 of us, a couple of those people are in the room. We went to the restaurant over the ocean in Port Orange that the hurricane just took away. It's being rebuilt. And we're sitting there waiting for the election results. We all know that it wasn't going to pass because of the lopsidedness of the money that funded it. But we sat there and the election results came up and we won big. And I said, that's got to be the first wave. There's got to be more to follow. And then it comes up that 100% of the vote. That was it. Didn't take them long to count it because it was a special election on that one thing. You won that. And you won it because you stood up and stepped up and said, stop it. Stop taking the money out of my pocket and giving it to somebody else for something that's never going to help me. I'm against it and I'll always be against it.
Okay, ready? Next question, right? Yep. I apologize. This is a long one. Okay. All right. Currently, Echo. I'm sorry. I know who this one's from. Currently, Echo does not require the county to have any skin in the game. Every city in the county has to put up half in order to receive Echo funds. If elected, will you pledge to even the playing field? Either allow cities to use ECHO funds without putting up half, or require the county to put up half for like the cities do?
Well, ECHO funds is established, and the taxpayers are the ones who decided they're going to tax themselves, and this is what they're going to contribute to, and they've renewed it. So I'm not going to pledge to do anything different than what's already been voted. Do I necessarily agree with the way that it's administered? Maybe not. But that's not that's an issue that is passed, done, and I don't see that it's in the purview of myself or anybody else that would sit in that position to counteract it. I quite frankly, the whole ECHO thing mystifies me a bit, honestly. But hey, you got to remember, this isn't about Randy Dye's way. It's really about the people of Volusia County, and they're the ones they're the boss.
my party was against ECHO. It was against Volusia Forever. I looked at ECHO and Volusia Forever and said, you know what? The voters want this, because I'm out talking to people all the time. You know why they wanted it? You know what I heard all the time? This is the only way that we can get something that we want, because government spends money in ways that we don't agree with. So we want parks, we want recreation, we want outdoor facilities. We went in Volusia Forever to buy more land. Now, my friend that created this question is not going to like my answer, but this ECHO was a county program. It was written for the county to do those things. And we still allow the cities to participate in it, but they have to bring us a project before we can deal with it. Now, the city of DeBerry is bringing us a really good project and a really expensive project. And I will work with the DeBerry City Council to make sure that it gets approved, because right now it's in question because all of the paperwork that the law requires has not been turned in, and in a way that was approved by the board. It ended up in a tie, which means it's a loss. So will I work with the cities? Yeah, but the truth is the county does have skin in it. We have a lot of skin in ECHO. We don't get to just take your money and we have nothing to put in. We put in our share of money too. The voters approve this. I can't just go and change it, but I think it's a good program, and I think it's doing what the citizens of Volusia County wanted it to do. And yes, William Sell, I will work with you in the city of DeBerry to make sure that you get your project done, because it's good and it ought to pass. But you asked me to follow the rules. I will help you follow the rules too, so that it gets done.
Do I get the microphone since he mentioned my name?
60 seconds.
1 minute rebuttal.
What the hell skin does the county have in ECHO?
All right. No. Danny was there with the group.
Mention my name.
I want to just echo what Bill said, so that, but more than that, I kind of tend to agree with sentiment, because whether it's a county program or a city program, you make the cities follow different rules than the county, yet it's supposed to benefit all of the voters in the county, because everybody in the county pays into it, whether they live in a city or out in the county, out in county proper. It doesn't matter. We're all paying in. We should all benefit from it equally. I think that whether it be precisely what Bill says or some kind of compromise in the rules, I think the county should have some sort of skin in the game because of this. I remember back, it wasn't that long ago, there were ECHO projects being denied because the county earmarked funds from ECHO for a very large project. They wanted to expand the boardwalk on the beach. This was something that none of the council voted on. It was something that the county manager wanted to do. It was his special project. The county council at the time okayed him earmarking those funds. And there were a lot of projects that didn't get done for what was a crappy project that nobody got to debate, nobody got to talk about, but tens of $millions were earmarked and kept us from doing other things. So yeah, we all need to play by the same rules, because whether you live in the cities or out in the county, we're all paying in for the program. We should all benefit from it.
All right, I told Jeff is up next. If elected, do you pledge to oppose the fuel terminal in Ormond Beach? How about a soft to you?
Yes. I want to add something else first. What he said is absolutely true. Came from a different county council and a different county manager, and it was absolutely wrong. We didn't need a boardwalk, didn't want a boardwalk. I had no responsibility for it, and I didn't like it. I think I'm out almost every night opposing the fuel distribution center in the middle of a residential neighborhood, because it's crazy. It's just not right. I'm not against fuel terminals. However, I have changed my mind as I've looked at this whole process, and I see the company that says that they're going to build it and they have exacting standards. They've never built anything before. They've never built anything, but they're going to build a fuel terminal in a neighborhood. I don't want them to build it there, but knowing that company, I don't want them to build anything in the state of Florida that's going to hold 30 million gallons of gasoline in it, because their safety record sucks. It's bad. It's worse than bad. They paid almost a $500 million, no, not almost, they paid $500 million in fines for safety violations, for transporting fuel, their parent company. The company that wants to build it hasn't built anything, but their parent company has a lousy safety record for transporting fuel on trains, and that's what this is. It goes by, there's two people in this room that it will go right by their residence. So yeah, I'm opposed to it. I'm going to stand with the people. We had a record number of people that came to a county council meeting. It's never happened in Volusia County before. Filled the chambers, filled the overflow area. Then we added seats and big screen TVs to the rotunda and made that an overflow. They filled that up. The people are against this. I'm a representative. I need to represent the people. This is an easy call for me.
I think it's a fairly easy call, but I also think that we're not taking a look at what has already happened. Belvedere, as far as we know to this point, going back to 2022 when they made their first inquiry with the county, has followed the law. The fact that staff knew about the zoning there and didn't bring it forward, the staff knew that the inquiry came forward and was agreeable to it, they have followed the law. But I think our staff, and this is part of the problem, I think our elected officials and our staff have had a disconnect for way too long, and we're going to end up paying the price. It's because this could have been fixed much further back down the road, or at least fought much further back down the road, if the communication piece was in place, if we are working together jointly towards the things we want, the things we need, if we're reviewing our zoning as development happens around it. That is a beautiful, beautiful area of Ormond Beach. A beautiful area of Ormond Beach. It's a very nice, quiet area. There's a lot of good things that go on there. The rec area is terrific. And that zoning was in place, and nobody said anything. Why is that happening? Where's that accountability? Fighting that is going to cost us millions of dollars, of taxpayers' dollars, no matter where you live in this county. Is it the wrong thing at the wrong place at the wrong time? We're going to have to find a way to stop them based on the things. I'm not sure that they have done everything right. Those are the things we need to find a way to fight them on.
So I think this is one of those great opportunities. Do we all agree? I completely agree that this location for this type of facility is the wrong location by preference. No doubt. By law, maybe not. I spoke early on at the Ormond Beach City Commission meeting opposing the fuel farm. I grew up in a community where there was a fuel farm. I was 10 years old on June the 19th in 1970. It blew up, okay, by a worker's error. Okay, they were welding and it caught fire and several people lost their lives. People that work there, I don't know that that's any consolation, but people that work there. So what we agree on is that we don't think this is where this should go, right? What we don't agree on, and what I might agree with the mayor, this isn't the way the fight needed to be fought, because it is going to cost everybody in this room a lot of money. It's going to be millions and millions of dollars. The DEP permit was filed in March of a year ago. So, we said, well, why hasn't staff done what staff's supposed to do? Well, there's no exception that was needed. Staff didn't have a red flag because it was within the boundaries of the law. So a business person delivers to staff what their expectation is of leadership. And you expect out of staff to deliver to you information so that you can operate and run and make decisions. I support the chairman's role in opposing this. I support the mayor's role in opposing it. I don't support the way we've gone about it.
Yeah, it's all three. Let's see. Who went last? Jeff, you left off? You had one off? Yeah, so Don's up.
Time's up. All right.
Here goes.
Here it goes. Okay. All right. What is your position? Do you believe that Volusia County needs an affordable housing trust fund to help create more affordable housing? If so, where will the money come from? And who will manage it?
That's a great question. I think I've already spoken publicly about it, but I'll be happy to share that with this room. I think, yes, we do need an affordable housing trust fund. I think that you can raise plenty of private dollars to do it, and there's actually groups in place that can run it because they're working on it right now through the faith organization. One of the reasons why I'm for it is because part of the problem we have, affordable housing, this is another one where you ask 10 people, you're going to get 10 different answers about what it is. But I'm going to talk about just central Daytona and areas like that, the poorest of the poor. We keep helping them with rent. 5 years from now, you're going to continue to help them with rent, but that rent's going to cost them more. 15 years from now, you're going to help them with rent. It's going to cost them even more. And as long as they rent, they're never, ever going to stop renting, and we're always going to have to pour government dollars into helping people. We need to find a way to get the 70% of central Daytona and areas like that that are owned by out-of-town owners that are enriching themselves on the backs of these people. We need to get home ownership, even if it's just modest down payments, modest payments. You can help them get into their own homes and help them own them. They'll take better care of them. You have poor people who are actually building wealth in themselves instead of enriching somebody else. And you don't have to continue to help them. You don't have to help somebody with rent forever because rents always go up. Buying a house, your mortgage is your mortgage and you pay it off. You help poor people build modest wealth that they can pass on generationally. And we don't have to give government dollars year after year after year after year and have it never end. And you give them something substantial that means something to their families. So that's just my thought on it.
Thank you.
The mayor and I attended the same event, and that question was posed to us individually, and we both had an opportunity to respond. You know, then I think the amount actually that was spoken about that night was $9 million, if I'm not mistaken, a $9 million trust fund. And I said, listen, my answer is sure. If you want to raise $9 million and put it in a trust fund, in general, okay. But what's the governance, and who's the trustees, and how are they going to behave? But by the way, not on the back of the taxpayer. There's $50 million already in the county budget for affordable housing. What are we going to go do another $9 million trust fund for? I don't really, on the back of the taxpayer. I'm going to give you a little, I can't probably tell you exactly. I'll just say I'm working on a private housing project that doesn't have anything to do with affordable housing. But it does have to do with raising money so that people can live in an affordable way while attending, getting educated. We're out trying to raise $12.5 million privately, not on the back of the taxpayer. And the other real answer, the real fix for affordable housing is bring good industry to our community that will pay good jobs, that will get people out of a generational lifestyle that keeps them down instead of lifts them up.
For a year and a half, the county staff worked on an affordable housing program. And they worked with people from all over the counties, from developers to lawyers, to people that worked in the homeless community. Sometimes it's an industry. That comes from people that I've talked to that work in it. And the county came up with a good program, and there's money to fund it. Now, I met this week with the faith group, not about this. One of the members is in the room today. She's become somebody that I have a lot of respect for. They have come to me to work on flooding issues because their churches are faced with that as well. I told them that they didn't ask me about affordable housing. At the end of the meeting, I told them that I would meet with them to look at it. Let's discuss the county's program. Let's discuss their ideas and see what works, because sometimes things don't work well, and you got to come together and change it and improve it. But I have not been, for 3 years, Faith has asked me, will you support this trust fund? For 3 years, I've said no, and I've gone beyond that. I said, no, I won't. I'm not going to take more money from the public to create more people that need affordable housing. That's not the way you do it. And then the rest of my answer, some of them don't really receive very well. And that is that I believe as a Christian that it's the church's responsibility to feed the poor and clothe the naked and help them with housing. Does the government have a role? Yeah, the government has a role because we're all here and we're all compassionate people. But I think it's wrong when the church takes its responsibility and hands it to government and say, you take care of it, because I don't want to take care of it.
Thank you. Madam President, looking at the time, I got no questions to last another hour. Oh, what?
Okay. Why don't we wind it up at 7:30? So one or two more questions. I don't know, one more question, and then we're going to finish up the meeting.
Okay, all right.
So Jeff's up now.
Jeff's up. Well, we sort of bounced around this question all over the place, but here it is. What is your plan to deal with all the new flooding in places to which have previously never had flooding, and what do you think is causing it?
Oh, well, I made a mistake of posting on Facebook, if you've had any flooding, not the hurricane flooding, but any post-hurricane from November, over a year ago, please send me pictures. I'd like to come and look at it, follow the water, see if I can determine where it's coming from. It's now become a full-time job. It was, a friend of mine said, why in the world did you post that? We have flooding in every corner of our neighborhood, of our county, and I can tell you what it's coming from. I'm working with a hydrologist and engineer that has developed some of the most problematic developments in West Volusia. We have friends that have a farm. Their farm has been wiped out. It's flooded. We have residents in DeLand, a business owner that lives down a hill. He's close to the bottom, but he's not the bottom. The bottom of the hill was wetlands. They filled in the wetlands with 8 feet of fill, built a wall, so now the water comes down, hits the wall, and backs up. It's up the hill, past his house, and up the hill further, and the farm up there, all their animals now live inside because their pastures are flooded. The problem, what's causing the flooding, is our development pattern. That's why I keep harping on it, that we have to change our development pattern. We can't come in and drain a wetland that God put there for a specific purpose to take the water, cut down 300 acres of trees, put all the water in a burp, a big ugly retention pond. Instead of letting it disperse over 300 acres where it's absorbed into the ground, we put it in a retention pond, pave everything else over, we displace the water. There's no place for it to go except your house and except your yard. And it's wrong. And we keep saying the developer has private property rights. Well, darn it, I'm an American. And we were built on the fact that we all have property rights, not just the developer, but the neighborhoods all around that development. You have private property rights too.
Thank you.
Terrific question. And what I heard was
more questions. I didn't necessarily hear answers to what we're going to do about it, but identifying the problem is the first step. I think what we need to do, I know what I do in my city affects the city down the road. And I know that what the city down the road from me affects me. The Nova Canal is a great example of it. I think we've all worked together to get a study coming from the Army Corps of Engineers in Daytona Beach, for example, on the east side. Daytona Beach flooded out. They have no outfalls from that canal. All that water goes in the canal. It all comes towards me. It all goes towards Ormond Beach and Holly Hill. I'm having enough trouble holding more water than we've ever had to hold before and figure that out, and now I'm going to hold somebody else's water. We have a terrific communication gap between our cities and our counties with development. What I do affects you and what you do affects me, but I'm going to do what I do because, and you're going to do what you're going to do because that's all fine and legal. That's meeting a minimum standard. We have to find a way to stop simply meeting the minimum standard. I've got great relationships with my neighboring cities, and we're working together better than we ever have before in our history. We need that for the county because it's not just what's old and what's new. It's what we're doing with each other, and that's what we've got to solve, and that's the only way we're going to solve it.
So yeah, the water. By the way, this water's good. Thank you.
That's VFW water.
Yeah, there you go. That makes it even better. So I would say this to you. You know, I think what you've heard and what we've all experienced, we have friends and neighbors with drive around the community. I think this problem has got multiple facets to it. I don't think it's just one thing. And I think that it requires I would agree that the development that doesn't seem to pay attention, that's certainly one contributing factor, that we just randomly, without rules, without restriction, we just seem to go. But I also would tell you that I think there's a lot more to it than just one simple thing. And what we've been doing, we talk about this all the time. I don't know about you, but in my lifetime, I'm tired of making villains. I'm tired of pointing out villains all the time. I think it's time we come together and try to figure out really what the solutions are to these types of problems. And it's not about how I feel. Bring me data. Okay, we have to have data. We can think it's this way. We can think it's that way. We can think it's that cause over there. This is a big enough problem, and it does. The mayor's right. You know, it travels downhill or uphill, or they all connects. We need an overall comprehensive review of what's going on so that we can make the right decisions and if necessary, stop growing in certain places so that we can resolve the problem.
All right. One more. Okay.
One more and then that's it.
One more. Okay. All right. If elected,
How many questions?
Oh,
no, we got. You just want to go to that?
okay, so that's it.
That's it. Okay. All right. Boss says that's it.
First, I mean, what are we missing out on?
Oh.
No.
Well, what I was going to suggest is that I do have probably 10, 15 questions here. What would your opinion be if I put these together and put it in writing, send it to all three of you, give you an opportunity to respond to questions, and I can send it back to our members?
You can do that, but I tell you what, I don't think any of the three of us are going to leave right away. We're here.
Yeah. So after the meeting, okay.
So what? Nobody has to wait that way.
All right. Excellent. Okay. All right. So we go to rebuttal. So we drew straws on that. We're going to reverse the order from what we did at the beginning, or which? Yeah. So that's your 2 minute closing statement.
2 minute closing statement.
We got 3 to start.
We got 3 to start with limit.
Close.
So we have the 20
2 minute closing.
20 minute closing.
2 minute closing is what we agreed on.
First of all, I'd be remiss and not if I didn't thank you all for having us. I'm hoping we have many, many, many more of these throughout the county, all over the place. It's February. August election is 201 days away. And the only way we push the needle in this county and really make things happen is to talk amongst ourselves, not just get y'all getting to know us, but because we're bringing issues forward, we're talking about solutions, we're talking about problems that are real to people. So I really appreciate that. When we flooded, a lot of homes flooded all over the county after Ian. We'd never seen a storm like that. My mom and dad, the house I grew up in, they bought in 1964 flooded. They lived with me and my wife for several months until we got them back in their house and got them back on their feet. It's very, very real and very personal to me, the infrastructure needs that we have. And as hard as that was on them, it was actually a blessing to me because I didn't know Mom had cancer at the time. And we lost her last year. But we got to break bread together every night for 4 months. And that feeling I'll never forget. So this is a very personal issue for me when we're talking about what we need to do with our infrastructure, what we need to do with transportation, things like that. These are quality of life issues that affects everybody every day. Our families, our friends, and the more we talk about these things, the better. But at the end of the day, talk is cheap. We need to take all the things that we talk about this year on the campaign trail and go make them happen. I've got a proven track record of doing that. Like I said, I don't always get it right, but sitting our hands, talking about it, is not a solution. Having the experience and the know-how to go out and get things done, at the end of the day, I think experience matters, and I hope that you find my experience is what it'll take to get things done. I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Well, I too thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Thank you, Mr. Timer. And thank you all for being here. And, you know, I got to tell you, being in the VFW it just makes my heart feel good. You know, I say this all the time when I'm out and about. I told you where I came from, so I call myself a no account nothing redneck from Northwest Pennsylvania. That's the truth. Who's been very fortunate in business, who's had a lot of great people speak into his life. And I believe through all of the experience that I've had over the last 41 years in business here, it's made me ready to do this job. I'm going to probably make some of you angry here in a minute, all right? And it's not intentional, but you know, friendships are important, relationships are important, and when you start speaking about people that you don't know, in a way that casts them into a villain, you're really, really pushing the envelope, okay? I've heard tonight the Brown and Brown family were mentioned. And they have contributed to my campaign. Also want you to know, we heard about how important parks are. We also talked about how employers are. 600 employees work for Brown and Brown. They built a park out of their own pocket in Daytona Beach that cost $32 million out of their own pocket. Okay, those are good people. Okay, they contribute to the community. And I'm going to tell you something else. Developers have been named. There's a friend of mine who's a developer. I'll tell you that. He's a developer. He also saved the life of a 22-year-old little girl this week. Because he's a human being. This girl had a brain tumor boring into her brain. And he made a call. And he got her in. And he had her prioritized. And that little girl's going to live. So the people we talk mean-spirited about, they're people too, and they care about you just like the rest of us.
Okay, well, I'm going to change my closing comments here and tell you how my day started today. I went and visited a friend who is a supporter, has been a supporter, long-time supporter, and a local businessman. And he called me and said, I've had a couple people come and make threats to me and my wife. and tell me that you're backing the wrong person. And if you don't change who you're backing, then your problems aren't going to go away. His problems are with code enforcement in Volusia County, and I think they're unfair. And I've been working with him for about, several months now that he came to the county and spoke. And then he said somebody else from the REC, didn't even know what an REC was, came and said, you're backing the wrong person, and if you want this business to last, you better get behind the right person. I didn't say anything disparagingly about Brown and Brown. They are indeed an asset to our community. They have a different philosophy than what I have and what most voters have, and that is build at all costs and just keep paving over this county. And they contribute, they donate money, they have a beautiful park, but their philosophy, I disagree with. That doesn't make them evil, that doesn't make them bad. In my opinion, it just makes them wrong for the future of Volusia County. And when your campaign is based on funding from those groups of people, it tells you, for the people with that philosophy, not evil people, but people with a different philosophy that we can build our way out of problems, that's just not the way that I think this county should go forward. And so I'm asking you to re-elect me. I will work on these problems with you. I want you to re-elect me in August in the primary. And so let's send a message across this county that we want to go a different direction.
All right, thank you. Thank you all three gentlemen. Appreciate it very much. Appreciate you taking the time and doing it.